Mandalorian Chapter 19 set up so much for what's to come later in the season, from the mysterious entity behind the TIE Interceptors, is it Thrawn, is it Gideon, maybe someone else, to why Bo-Katan accepted joining the tribe, and so on. The most recent episode was a blast. But did you know the Coruscant subplot was taken directly from the story of the cancelled show, Rangers of the New Republic? Back in 2021, Kathleen Kennedy revealed that The Mandalorian would integrate aspects of Jon Favreau's spin-off, but the biggest tell is in the show synopsis. Rangers was going to show, quote, how the New Republic struggles to lead the galaxy away from its dark history. This is exactly what we saw in Chapter 19, and Katie O'Brien's character, Elia Kane, who is a double agent, even tells Pershing the New Republic is doing their best, but they're struggling. And we know this from books like Bloodline, Lost Stars, and the Aftermath trilogy. The New Republic assumed they had their affairs in order, but they were a mess. And what's even worse is that in The Mandalorian, they're still in their infancy. They're cooking up from the start. From demilitarizing to complacent lack of control, lack of organization, splits and divisions within their own government, they caused their own undoing, not taking real threats seriously. I mean, if one person like Elia could get through their rehabilitation and still find a way to steal from under the New Republic's noses on behalf of an Imperial warlord, what other cracks are there in the system? She knew very well she'd get away with it. All she had to do was play the part, pretend that she's innocent, and that she's put her Imperial history in the past. The secrecy of Imperials like Gideon is their strength, knowing how to hide and avoid the New Republic, and have double agents working for them. And another thing that was going to play into Rangers of the New Republic that we see in Chapter 19 is the illusion of power. Mon Mothma and her government wanted to make people think everything was well, so they had public parties, carnivals, displays of peace, just as we saw at the end of Return of the Jedi. They had their jugglers and street performers, everyone was eating glow stick popsicles, and it was a fun time, but it was all an affront. They were ignoring what was going on in the Outer Rim, also the unknown regions, and as we're going to see in the Ahsoka show and Skeleton Crew, the New Beyond, there was a darkness brewing beneath the surface. The remnant was getting stronger. As Kane says, it sure feels different how it used to be. Of course, the context she's using this in is different to someone on the side of good, but the point stands. She's referring to the days of the Empire, and while they were stringent in their authoritarianism and they were brutal, Chapter 19 isn't afraid to show us, well, the New Republic is a bit like that too. They're just as insecure and strict if you don't fall in line, if you don't follow their ideals. The active pursuit of authority and even thought control is brittle. The New Republic ensured that those who were in the rehabilitation program would come out of it without the brainwashing of the Empire. But as we see in the case of Elia Kane, Gideon's comms officer, this was not always possible. And ironically, in the process of trying to deprogram people, you end up resembling your enemy. The Empire used similar tactics. In the book Lost Stars, we really do get a good look at behind the scenes of the New Republic. They won various battles, and so as a result they thought, you know what, we've got this under control. But some leaders, like Admiral Akbar, warned it would only take one united big attack against the New Republic to demolish it, because at the end of the day, it's pretty easy taking out one or two individual remnants across the galaxy, but if a larger force came along, which eventually it would, in the form of the First Order, they were essentially screwed. At the moment though, not to get ahead of ourselves, the New Republic's weak spot is the Outer Rim, where they do not have full jurisdiction, and that is their own fault. And this is where the use of Carson Tevra is going to be very interesting, because he was out there on Tatooine in the Book of Boba Fett, trying to police the area, but they're horribly outnumbered, and he's going to realize something's coming, he's going to witness a threat, and report it back to Mon Mothma. I reckon since escaping prison, Moff Gideon's gotten stronger, and you might be saying, how do we know he's out of prison? Some of Pershing's colleagues, the workers at the Amnesty program, did say there were rumors, and I think this is vital, because the TIE Interceptor attack on Kalevala, which was much bigger than Bo-Katan anticipated, could have been Gideon. The motive makes sense, his want for revenge and obsession with Mandalore. I know some fans think it was Thrawn. I spoke to Making Star Wars about this and they're convinced this is more likely Moff Gideon or another Imperial warlord. At this stage, it's way too early for Thrawn, although in the context of the episode, it does make sense that a lot of folks think that. He's coming, and he's coming with a vengeance, with a larger military plus his Praetorian Guards, which were rumoured for this season, not to mention his cloning project. He's got a lot more power since the Dark Troopers, since Season 2. Things are much different. He's very strategic, and as Giancarlo Esposito said, do not underestimate him. What I'm saying is, the first steps of the First Order have begun, even though in the timeline we're quite far out, but the first sort of breadcrumbs, the first steps, have been set in motion, and so too the eventual collapse of the New Republic, something that was going to be shown in Rangers. The New Republic canonically are gonna remain the galactic government for another 2.5 decades, with an entire generation growing up knowing peace, with little comprehension of the old empire. Nevertheless, there was still some limited military activity. For example, when the New Republic authorized a peacekeeping operation by sending a sizable fleet to Kadak in the Outer Rim in order to bring the lawless world under control, and guess what happened? The people there rejected it. None of the ships they sent came back, but during these 30-odd years, something was brewing in the shadows, on planets like Exegol, other unknown territories, not just Thrawn, but also the Sith Eternal, and whoever Gideon is answering to. There is always the possibility that Snoke is already around, but the slow political breakdown that was going to be in Rangers has already been integrated into the Mandalorian Season 3, and we're probably going to see more of it in the upcoming episodes, maybe even Mon Mothma herself, and who knows, on the other side of politics, Mas Amedda could appear too. That's right, that scumbag is still around. And so now, my dear friends, massive spoiler warning. We're going to be talking about a potential spoiler for Chapter 20 next week. Chapter 20 is co-written between Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, the first of 2 episodes they've co-written for this season. It's directed by Carl Weathers, who, as you know, directed my favourite episode of the entire show, Chapter 12. But because it's been co-written by Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, some fans are wondering, is there going to be some kind of connection to the Ahsoka series? Well, Rosario Dawson may have just spilled the beans. She hyped the next episode of Mando, Chapter 20 next week, as one that she's really excited for, and that has me thinking, is she involved in this season? And if Ahsoka is going to be in it, is she going to be with Sabine, and therefore Natasha Liu? Honestly guys, that'd be such an amazing surprise, but I can't really see what the connection is just yet. Based on the events of Chapter 19, I don't see how Ahsoka would play into it. Of course, there are many ways if Thrawn's involved, or maybe the Darksaber plot, if Din is going to be trained by Sabine or something like that, or just like the Coruscant subplot of this week, could next week have a different story with Ahsoka? Is that going to set up her own show? And is Rosario Dawson alluding to the fact that she is in next week's episode? Here's what she said. Doing my best Wonder Ahsoka impression this Wonder Woman Wednesday as I Jones for the next Mando episode. Hashtag this is the way. And for those who might argue she's talking about the last episode and is just excited, this was posted hours after Chapter 19 dropped. She's clearly referring to next week's episode, as I say co-written by Dave himself. What an amazing tie-in that would be. Share your thoughts in the comments down below of everything we spoke about. I posted my full episode breakdown of Chapter 19 The Convert, so go check that out if you haven't done so. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. May the Force be with you always.